All right, what's going on, everyone? We are back in Resident Evil 9 Requiem, and we've just got everything set to the following settings here. We're just on 4K with DLAA. There's been no frame generation, no upscaling. We don't have ray tracing on, and we don't have any sort of path tracing on, of course. So right here, we are just at native settings with everything completely maxed out down here. And we are at about 69-70 FPS, and we have the brand new driver loaded in. So this is the March 3rd driver, so we don't have to worry about any sort of those old issues. So yeah, there's a zombie in there. I'm gonna keep running this way. Yeah, so we have really good performance here. So I'm gonna jump down to a quality upscale just because there's really no reason not to do a quality upscale. It looks so good that you can't even really tell the difference, and you just get kind of free performance. I mean, I know some people could probably tell the difference if they are zoomed way in and studying it like inch by inch, pixel by pixel, but that's just not really something that I'm super interested in doing. Honestly, I think that you should just play the game. But right here we are looking like about 106 FPS here. And yeah, we have some really good performance in this title. So what I'm going to do now is just kind of top it off with some frame generation because you have a 19.2, 19.3 PCL up there. So you have extremely low latency. And whenever you have extremely low latency, you can definitely kick on some frame generation. So right here, you could lock this to like 144. And play just like this with no real need to go any further. This game runs exceptionally well. All right, sorry to hard cut there. I just wanted to come back in here. You have to change these options in the main menu. So I'm going to go up to ray tracing normal, and then I'm going to bring it down here, and I'm going to go back to a DLAA setting with no frame gen. So we're going to kind of start over, but with that first level of ray tracing enabled. So we're just going to see how that looks, and I'll be right back after this loads. All right, so here we are back in it. We've got that first level of RT enabled. We are about 41, 45 FPS here. And yeah, it's looking like it's going to need a little help for sure from DLSS. So I think that a little bit of just quality upscaling would take care of it. I really think that you're going to be able to do quality upscaling all the way up to maybe path tracing. We'll have to see. But yeah, with quality upscale, that's going to give you 28 milliseconds on that PCL. And you have about a 65 FPS just kind of, baseline performance there. So go ahead and knock that guy out. Let's keep going. All right, so we have about 65 FPS here. And looking really good. So right here, I think that doing just a little bit more upscaling might top it off. We can definitely appreciate balanced for the kind of similar look to quality, but with a little bit more performance overall. So yeah, right here we are at 85 FPS, and everything's looking really good. 73 inside these smaller areas for sure. It's a little bit easier to run. But yeah, with this first level of ray tracing turned on to just normal, it does look really good. So let's just keep kind of coming through here and run around and see what we can expect if we go up a little bit more on that ray tracing. So we're going to jump over to a high setting, and then we'll see how that goes. All right, so we're loading in the high setting right here. So we're jumping back into it. And right here, let's just check out our settings. We're just going to go back over to that DLAA to make sure that we are getting kind of a solid baseline. All right, so we're going to go up to DLAA. Nothing down there is on. We're just going to come back out and see what that baseline is. So with just DLAA on with that second level of ray tracing, so ray tracing high, so right before path tracing, you have about 30 FPS. So let's go up to quality and see how that kind of pans out. I want to try to get it to at least 60 on quality. I think that would be pretty nice. But balance is definitely just as good in my opinion. I mean, it looks really good. It's still on that same K model. Yeah, so you got about 50 FPS here. So really on this, you could go up in upscaling just a little bit more, or you could just frame generate. And I say that because frame generation on 4.5 is just that good now that it can almost replace, you know, the upscaling that you would otherwise have to do. So what I'm going to do now is just do an upscale. I'm just going to show you kind of what it looks like with the PCL-wise with the balanced upscale. And then we're going to compare it to a quality upscale with frame generation. So right here you are at 27 milliseconds of post-compute latency with a 66, 65, almost 70 FPS here. All right, so that's just a balanced upscale with no frame generation. All right, so now that we have these numbers kind of in our brains, let's go up to quality again. So let's just check that out. I'm just gonna see what that PCL does with some frame generation. All right, so let's go to quality with a 2x frame gen. And that is going to give you 95 FPS with about 46 milliseconds of latency. And you know, it is higher latency, of course, because you're frame generating. However, for a game like this, anything under about 50 is perfectly fine. I personally think, at least. But yeah, it looks really good. So you've got two options there. I would probably just go with balance and not really worry about frame generation, just because it's more latency that you don't really need, but it does look really good. Frame generation is really, really good now. The ghosting that you used to have is just gone on 4.5. It just looks exceptionally good. So let's jump over and see what a little bit more upscaling can do here. Let's go to a performance setting right here. So this is another option with that frame gen off, and that's going to give you about 70. Let's give it some time to kind of sort itself out here and make sure that we get a good number. So we're on that M model, and we are about 70 FPS here. So somebody just said quiet. I don't know where that's coming from. God, this game is freaky. Yeah, so we are about 70 FPS and 28.5 milliseconds on our PCL. So we're looking really good here. And then, of course, you can do a little frame gen on top of this and kind of polish it up, you know, kind of take it on up a notch. So let's go down here and check out the 2X. This is pretty much all you need. 2X frame gen is more than enough. And that's going to give you a slightly lower PCL than balance with frame gen, and you know, a little bit more performance on your, you know, overall frame rate. So right here it's about 112 or so. So if I was going to run ray tracing on high, this wouldn't be a bad setting. But say you got a, you know, high refresh monitor. Let's just throw that out there just to see if you, because you got a 5080, you're probably on a high refresh monitor. So let's go ahead and get the best out of it. So let's go to 4X and see what that does. Latency wise, it keeps it down pretty well. You're still about 42, 45 milliseconds there. And I'm not really seeing any major issues ghost wise. There's a little bit around her hair. But other than that, you know, I'm again just like looking at it really hardcore, trying to see it. That's probably the most ghosting I've seen, is just around her hair when I spin the camera around, you know, really fast. So there you go. That's kind of like a high refresh setting with, you know, a decent frame rate. So let's come up here and see if we can reduce some of that ghosting. So you can come in here and do that with another upscale. So let's go to ultra performance, and ultra performance gives it like a, I don't know what you want to call it. On L model, it's not as nice, but on the old model, we'll see that with path tracing here, it gives us this like eerie softness that is just kind of reminds me of like a 70s horror movie, and it just kind of fits. So even that softness does wind up looking really good. I think I've killed her like twice. But yeah, we have about 240 FPS in here. So let's jump over and go to that next level. I want to check out path tracing, and I'll be right back. All right, so we're going to be loading in path tracing here. We are inactive because it has ray reconstruction built into path tracing, so you don't have that override, but you might not need it. Right here we are at a pretty sluggish pace though, so let's go ahead and do some upscaling. Not worth really exhausting this option because it's going to need some help. Even the menu's slow. Path tracing is just incredibly intensive. All right, so if you've looked up at the technology and the path tracing, you'd appreciate it a lot. There's a lot going on with path tracing. It's quite wild that a game can even do path tracing, much less, you know, do it at 60 plus, you know. So Right here we have, that guy's just not going to give up. We have 37, 36 FPS here. So let's again jump up another notch. Let's go to that level of balanced and see what that does for us. So let's come into here. Let's go to balanced. Now balanced will give you 43 FPS, 42 FPS. So right here, you could do a 2x frame gen like we did earlier, and that would definitely help you get to 60 plus. Or, of course, you can just go to performance. I think performance looks really good. I would just probably use performance because right here, 46 FPS. Performance with a little frame gen is almost like the sweet spot to me if you want that clean, crisp image. But come into here, and let's see what we can expect. So let's go down here to the next upscale setting and check out performance. All right, so performance will give you right under 60, not quite, but it's right there at it. So again, path tracing is extremely expensive on your hardware. I mean, it is just there are just a lot of rays, going out to interact with all these different objects and bounce around and stuff. It's much more intensive than ray tracing. It's not just like ray tracing plus. It's like a whole thing. Let's see if this girl pokes her head out here. Come on. Where is she? I know she's in here. Where'd she go? Oh man, okay, there's the dude with the thing there. Where does she go? I know there's a lady in here that's like, must clean. Oh, well. All right, yeah, so let's just keep on going and see what we can expect with ultra performance. Now, this is the one that I kind of honestly like a lot. It gives it this, like, kind of softness that is, I don't know, it just works with this game. It gives it like a 70s horror movie kind of vibe to it. It's like imperfect and it just works. So the more I've played on ultra performance with path tracing, the more I like it because it just has this like grainy old quality to it, and it's vintage, and it's like it just works really well. So honestly, I'm gonna say this is probably how I would play it. I would play ultra performance. I just like the way that softness looks. It just works for some reason on this title. So yeah, you can definitely get well over 60, of course, with ultra performance. So that's a good look at it there. For the people who want a real crisp, clean image, I would probably come in here and just run a balanced upscale and then a 2x frame gen. And that's going to kind of take care of, the image quality as well as get your, frame rate up enough, well over 60. You could, maybe even lock it to 60, play 4K 60. But yeah, this would look really good too. But yeah, like I said, I just really like that ultra performance. It gives it that nice softness that is just like really, really, it really hits home when it comes to the style of this game. So anyway, that's been a good look. If you're new here, please consider subscribing if you're into this kind of thing. If you're not new, thanks for coming back. I've got a join button available now. I can't offer a whole lot. I'm just a really busy dad. But if you do want to support me in any way, shape, or form, whether it be joining or just watching my videos or sharing my content, that would be super appreciative. Mainly just thanks for hanging out. Thanks for making it to the end, and we'll see you in the very next video. Peace.